me do a game scene. Basically, these are your primary gates right here. And means you need all the signals in here to be above 0 to get a value to come out of the result. An OR gate is meaning it is basically any value that you plug into here. If it's above 0, it'll output here. Usually it'll output 1, but I think it might scale with the inputs, but I'm not sure. XOR gate means any of these signals can pass through separately. So you can't have A and B active at the same time. If you have more than one of these active, then it won't output anything. But if you have one of these active, then it will output. And if nothing is active, then it won't output. Then a NOT gate reverses the output of everything, or it makes it so if it's on, it's off, and if it's off, it's on. So this would mean that it is on, and then if we take another NOT gate just to get a value, now it will be off. Okay, and then another basic thing is a selector. And this basically allows you to select different values. So these on the side here mean to set the selector to this selection. So right now it's on A, but if you plugged a wire into here and then the value is greater than 0, it would set it to C instead of A. And down here you can cycle through them. And then there's extra options in here like active port, meaning it will set from 0 to 9 what port is active. And then pass through, instead of like this being a set to, meaning you can't set it to A anymore, whatever value plug into here will come out on this side when it's selected. And basically you would have to do move to the next output and previous output and active port when you have pass through on. And then signal manipulators. These are pretty complex and advanced, but they have multiple modes. Smoothing means it'll take time to reach the value that you plug in, and then when it turns off, like if it goes to 0, it'll take time to go down. Freeze output means it will stay at the value that is currently at. Not sure what bypass means. Enabling this bypass all the tweaks, passing the received signal to the output without manipulating it. I'm not sure what the point of this is, because you can't turn it on and off with anything except for a keyframe, I believe. Yeah, a keyframe can do that, but I don't know why there's no inputs or outputs for this. It shouldn't be like that. Dreams, that's like totally against Dreams' rule. Pulse on, input on. This basically means it will be a pulse. So if we put a button down and we plug it in, and then we'll just have a button over here that will represent it. So when we press this, it'll flash instead of being on constantly. And then there's one last mode on here, or a couple more. Invert will take the minimum and maximum values and flip them to this and this. And then if you want a special invert, you'd basically want to use this. So if you want it to be inverting between -1 and 1 instead of between 0 and 1, you'd have to do this and modify it like that. And let's see timer, basically timer.
Okay, I don't know why I thought saying basically a timer was good enough explanation for this, but I will go over in further detail what a timer is. First of all, let's open up the properties panel. So the top slider is target time. That's how long in seconds the timer will be running for. The second slider is the current time. You can mainly adjust this to set the default state of the timer. That's useful for other timer types than just simple count up and count down, I guess. Now, timer types are count up, speed, positional, and count down. Count up is your simple timer that ticks up from 0 to the target time that you set. Speed is basically changing the timer to only run when it has an input. So if you plug a wire into the start timer input and it is at 0, the timer won't move. But if it's below 0, it'll go backwards, and if it's above 0, it'll go forwards. This is really useful for limiting something or making a positional slider for something, or you want to manage a timeline and the position of the playhead and stuff like that. Positional will basically take a 0 to 1 input and change the current time of the timer between 0 and the maximum time. Count down is just like count up, but it counts from the maximum time to 0. So to actually get that to work, you need to set the current time to the maximum time to begin with as the default. So the first input for a timer is play or start, and that basically is your main input for the timer types. Next is a pulse output. Now pulse output will output 1 when the timer is finished, but only for like a split second. Reset timer will reset the timer to 0, the current time. Timer output is basically on a scale of 0 to 1 how full the timer is. And then timer completed, the very last output, is if the timer is completed and it's a constant on value. Alright, now back to the rest of the clip.
Calculator is a calculator. Microchips are where you put everything on. And anything you put in here that modifies an object, these all modify objects. Like you can move them, you can rotate them, teleport them, apply force, emit from them, destroy them, have health on them. If you put those in here, whatever you put this on with snapping, you have to snap to it, or you could use this and wire it up directly and have it floating. Whatever in that microchip will affect the object, the element that this microchip is on. And then you have a few extras like splitters and combiners. Basically, it makes a larger wire, which I can show you here with a variable. And variables are like numbers that you can store in a level, and you can make them persist and dream, and that makes them like stay like the same whenever you leave the level and come back. And we'll take a splitter, and then we will plug that into current value, and now we get positive and negative. Basically, positive and negative means if this value is greater than 0, it'll come out of here as a positive number. And then if this is less than 0, meaning it's like -1 or something, it will come out of this port instead, and it will be a positive number as well. Meaning if you want to only turn something on when this number is negative, then you would use this, because it would turn the thing on. But I don't know if negative numbers themselves turn things on or not. Not player owned, meaning this variable, if you have it multiplayer, not player owned, it would output 1 if it was player owned. If it was not player owned, meaning it was just a floating variable with nobody owning it, 1 means the first player owns it, 2 second, third, fourth, and then controller color is the color of the light bar on their controller. Good job on explaining everything, man. Really helpful. Yeah, no problem, man. If you have any tutorial requests, let me know. I am 90% sure this is the last day I can make tutorials, and if that's not the case, where they just shut off the beta servers, but you can still play the game and create, like, on your own with no Dreamiverse elements, then I will still be making tutorials, but I doubt that's going to happen. I'm pretty sure they're just going to lock off access to the app. So if you have any tutorial requests, let me know. And then a variable modifier, it allows you to set a value. When powered on means when you turn this on, it will activate it. And then when you set it to continuously while powered, it will always be active. So if it's on, it will continuously update this. But when powered on, it will do it once when it's powered on. And that's setting it, so it would change it to whatever you have here. Get will output the variable in what the current value is. And add is basically you're adding a number to the variable. And reset will reset it to whatever its default value is. If you can disconnect from the internet on your PS4, then you can stream with your capture card. Yes. Yes, I can. I can do that, but I don't know if that would be even pertinent. I'm pretty sure if you, like, close the beta and then try to open it again, it says you can't. If you turn off your internet, I'm pretty sure it just won't let you still. And a couple of people want to see what will happen, so I'm gonna do that. Can you make a physics-based car? Okay. I haven't gotten car physics down